What's up, everybody? This is Brian coming to you from More Low Less Talk. I got a really cool episode. This is about brake lines, right? And more specifically, custom brake lines. In this episode, we're going to get into how to make the bends. We're going to get into the fittings. We're going to get into how to make a flare, which you can't see. This is just a soft line that goes down to the axle. Don't worry about that. And this is just mocked up in here. So in other words, this is not the final fitment. I'm going to have to pull this back out again after I'm all done and put a flare on the other end, which goes down there. You'll see that in the episode. And anyway, man, I've never done brake lines before. So I spent about maybe 30 minutes or so getting familiar with tools, brake line benders and things like that. The flare thing was the one that took the most time, but kind of got familiar with all that, and then went to town, and you'll see all that in this episode. Other than that, man, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you're on your phone, hit that hype button. Apparently that does something. I don't know. So some of you can do it, and we'll find out how it works. Check out the episode, enjoy, and then we'll see you again on the next one. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the new episode. All right, so you saw me make, trying to get this in some light here. You saw me make these little gussets where we left off last week. I was going to make gussets to go right here to reinforce everything. And so that's what I've made here, one for each side. And then so now I got to clean off the axle, clean off the brackets, and get everything prepped so I can weld it. All right, here we go. Gusset's all done. I got a little janky line right here. I'm gonna have to sand that, smooth that out just for cosmetic reasons. All right, so I think the next step here is I'm gonna go ahead and sand this axle down, get rid of all this rust and stuff, and paint it. And something else that I did before I got back on camera, I need my light. So something else that I did before I got back on camera was I welded the spring pockets back on. All right, both of them welded in, secure. And so now I have to, come in here and sand, grind these down smooth so the bags don't kind of rub and chafe on them. And then I'm going to paint that as well. And then after the axle's painted and after all that's painted, I'll be ready to throw the axle in here, mount these bags, maybe even for the first and last time. That's exciting. So I think that is it. Yeah, so next time I see you, I should have the axle under the car and we will be fitting these bags. What's up, everybody? It is a new day. I believe last time I left off I was ready to put the axle back in the car, but I think what I'm going to do is work on some stuff that I need to do where the axle will be in the way if I go ahead and install it. It'd be better to go ahead and do it now than later and I have this giant axle in my way. So one of the things that I need to do is, there we go, brake lines. So I had to cut the old brake lines because they were all rusted up and they wouldn't come off. So I made this one already off camera. And this is not exactly where it goes when it's done, but it's just sitting there for now. But anyway, it goes down here and then behind the frame, and there's going to be a T-fitting there. So the one from the other side comes across to that T-fitting as well. These are, what was this, 3/16 lines, and then I got a 1/4 line going from the T-fitting all the way to the front. So anyway, that is what I'm going to work on right now, is the brake line for the other side. And we'll start by, what I did on this side was I removed the end bit right there that goes to the fitting. And I think that's what I'm going to do here. So in other words, this bit of line right here that goes to the fitting, I'm going to go ahead and cut this right here, and I'm going to mimic just this part, and then from there I'll just kind of free form it. This is what I did on the other side. Just kind of have to free form it and then cut across over to that side to where the T-fitting is at, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, but first, what I've learned is it's smart to go ahead and put your the crush, what do you call this thing? They have a name for this, a double flare. There we go. It's called a double flare. It's going to look like that. You can see I actually have already done some. If I can zoom in close here. Got a few options, and here's with the fitting on it. All right. So anyway, this is where I was practicing yesterday, and believe me guys, you need to practice this first. Don't just go straight into it. Here's the tool that does it, and anyway, we'll get to that shortly. Let me cut this little end off of this factory brake line real quick. Okay, so here is the end of that brake line that I want to try to recreate as best I can. All right, and here is 3/16 brake line. I forget what this is. It's like a combination of two different metals, but you know it is kind of silvery copper looking like at the same time. This is the most user-friendly from what I understand. It's the softest, and also you can kind of bend it by hand and it won't necessarily kink it unless you really bend it a lot. So anyway, my goal here is to take this and put this little end on it, just at the very end right here. And then I want to basically kind of figure out how long I'm going to need it, and I'll straighten it out. So I've got some cool tools here. So first tool I have is a cutter. So this is, you clamp this down on the, here I'll show you. Clamp this down right here, spin it a couple of times, you clamp it down harder, spin it a couple of times, you just keep doing that, and then eventually it cuts all the way through. It's pretty sweet. This is a straightener. So you just feed this guy in through here, and it comes out the other end straight. Pretty sweet. What else do we got here? Here's my bender. Okay. So in this case, I'll take bend it just like that. Pretty awesome. This is how I got all these bends. Right. All right. And the last thing, which, also, this is a deburr. So this one goes on the inside, deburrs the inside, like that. And then this side goes on the outside, deburrs the outside. And you can feel it super smooth whenever you get done. Awesome. And then the last part is this. This is what actually makes the flares on the end. This is kind of complicated, so I'll just show that once I get to that point. So first thing we're going to do is figure out the length of this. Actually, no, first thing we're going to do is bend the end of this to match, and then I'm going to figure out the length that I need, and then we'll move on to this guy. All right, do not forget, before you bend it, you gotta put this guy on. Because once you bend it, and you got the flare on the end, you ain't gonna be able to move it. You're gonna have to cut it back off. All right, I've already been playing with this thing, and if you look right here, if you look real close, here's the end of the brake line, and it does not sit flush with this surface. You have to push it in just a little bit. Otherwise, so this is going to kind of come on and compress it. It'll compress weird if you have it sticking out too far. And from what I've seen, this is about right. So this thing clamps that on and keeps this from sliding. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take these guys. You look right here, here's my OP1, so this is kind of like step one, and this is for the 3/16. So I'm going to start with this. I'm also going to need the OP2. So that's going to do the double flare. This one is also for 3/16. And you can see these two are the only ones that have any wear on them because those are the only ones I've been using. So I'll set you up and you'll see how it works. So this thing's got a point on it, and I stick the point inside the center of the brake line. And this, on this side, you can't really see it, but there's a spot where this side will meet up so that it's flush. And now just clamp it. Now here's step two to do the double flare. And if all went well, Hopefully you can see that. I'll put my hand here. Double flare, super smooth. No weird double wrinkles or anything. If it's stuck out too far, it'll do this double wrinkle weird thing. Awesome, perfect. Now, see now that this, back on the table. Now you can see why we got to put this on first. All right, so put this together so I don't lose anything. Okay. Now's the time where I want to try to match this. Now, there is a limitation to this bender. So the limitation is the length after this. So you can see I want to have this much length. It's probably going to be a little bit longer, and it's just not really any way around it. Whoa. I think I might have gotten lucky on that one. Look, that's almost exactly the right length. My other one was about maybe an inch longer. That, man, not too bad, huh? Maybe too much of a bend. Let's bend it back out just a little bit. Now it's not enough. See how soft this brake line is. Really easy to work with. All right, so my next bend I want to do right here. You get a pen. Center of my bend is right about there. It's not a big bend. All right. That's pretty much got me good enough. Now let's move over to the car. Here's kind of how the factory brake line went. Went over the arch right here. And now what I need to do is put a bend in it so that I can go that direction. So I'm going to need to figure out where I want that bend at. And I need to go get my pen again. Looks like the factory one bends right around here. Can you see that? Yes. Okay. So the factory one bends right there and it goes that direction. So now we're going to put that bend in it. Now I do need to keep in mind that this line needs to be removable because I don't have all my parts yet. So I can't do the final fitment. So all I'm doing right now is just getting it over to that side of the car, and I'll have to put the flares and all on the other end and do the final cutting and all that after the rest of the parts get here. So I know I want bend to go that way. And I pretty much got 90 degrees on there. I don't know if it's just showing this or not. Bend it to 90 degrees. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to get my straightener, straighten this out, shoot it across to the other side of the car, and then I'll cut it. I'll probably leave like literally a foot worth of extra length just in case I have to do some more bends in there somewhere. But that's going to be good for now. All right, this is that roll uncurled and straightened, obviously way too long and not nearly straight enough, but we're getting it. So let's go ahead and bring this over to the car and we'll get this cut to length. Okay, on the final installation, this is going to go underneath the body here, between the body and the frame. It's going to attach to the frame. I do have this notch that I'll have to contend with, so I need to go over that and then go back again. And since I'm going above this on this side, I'll do the same thing here. I'll put a hard bend and it goes right down to here where the T-fitting is going to be. So I'm just going to, you know, this thing is this long. I'm going to cut it way back here just in case I need to do some crazy bends, but I don't think I'll need to, other than this one bend right here. That'll be one for the bender for sure, but just in case I want to get fancy and do something here as well. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say that I do want to go ahead and bend it. Right there. There we go. Obviously not final fitment. I don't want to do final fitment yet. But you get the idea. This is how it'll look behind here. And then I've got these clamps, rubber insulated, that'll hold this on. It'll look really good. And that ought to do it. So that's both the rear individual lines done. I'm waiting on the 1/4 inch line so that I can complete it from that T-junction all the way up to the brake booster up here. All right, everybody, it is a new day. This is actually several days later, and some parts have come in. I got brake lines. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get these fitted up into here, where the brake line is gonna come out here into the axle. And anyway, I'm just going to kind of mock it up because I'm still going to have to finish up, you know, the brake line and everything, and that's going to come later. But for now, I've already done the other side, and I've found out that it's easier to take this bracket off and kind of get everything mounted with the bracket off. I'll do it up on the bench, and then I will reinstall it, and then we'll be on to the next thing. Okay, so the way these things work, you can see there's a flat spot in here, and this brake line also has a flat spot. So in other words, it will not go in until, boom, that flat spot. We'll find out why it's got a flat spot here in a minute. But for now, I need to put this retaining clip on. Okay, now I got it on, but you can see it's super duper loose. So just take some needle nose, or in this case, some electrical pliers. Come on, buddy. All right, where are you going? Nowhere. That's where you're going. All right, and so this is going to install in this kind of direction. So let's go get this thing done. Now, remember, this thing had a flat spot on it, and that's to keep it from spinning. So like whenever you get the right size, whenever you tighten this down, it'll keep this from spinning. You don't have to have a wrench on this side, although you can. It is got the flat spots on it for a wrench. Now, I'm not going to tighten this down because this is just for mock-up. I've got to pull this line back out again anyway, so that I can put a flare on the other side that's going back there. So that'll come in a little bit later, and so just for now I'm going to tuck this out of the way. And now my next step is to work on filling all this in, and I don't think I'm going to have time to do that this week, so I think we are done for the week. I think we just did a few brake lines. That was real easy. By the way, oh, speaking of this, okay, check this out. Make sure you got all your parts in, because when I went to put this whatever nut on here, I sized it for the factory one. Well, this aftermarket one is not the same size, so I had to chop this line. Actually, this line, I had to redo the whole line. On the other side, I had enough length in there where I was able to chop it and put the correct fitting on there and then flare it again. But on this one, I had to redo the whole line. So make sure your parts are in before you do stuff like this. Don't be like me. Boy, I tell you what, I'm learning a whole lot on this car because I've never done any of this stuff before. So take a lesson from me. Hopefully I can save you the headache. So anyway, this is going to be it for this week, I guess, and we will just have to check you out next week whenever I go to fill in these inner fender wells. So talk to you again soon.